Devotion, dedication. Also, she's got maybe she's too humble to say, too modest to say, but she's got a great fighting spirit, no doubt. She's a warrior, goes out there and doesn't give a single game. Actually, she has probably the most bagels of anyone in women's tennis. It speaks about how seriously and professionally she's taking every single point and game on the court. So that's very admirable. I really like that kind of champion spirit and mindset.
No, yeah, I would be lying to you if I said I had no reservations. Obviously, you guys know who I am and the things I speak about, and I was pretty much on almost every player call that.
Something unexpected happened after Coco Gauff's recent showdown that completely shifted the narrative. Aryna Sabalenka appeared to think she could get away with throwing subtle shade after her loss, but her comments did more than frustrate fans. They caught the attention of the last person she wanted involved. Out of nowhere, Novak Djokovic stepped in and shut the entire story down, humbling Sabalenka in a way that flipped the controversy on its head. What began as a moment of post-match frustration quickly turned into a larger issue that exposed far more than Sabalenka intended, and Djokovic made sure the truth was impossible to ignore. And the drama didn't stop there, because the real fallout only began after Sabalenka walked off the court.
Myself quite well, mentally, I would say. So basically that's it. I was just making unforced errors. I don't know, I have to check the statistics. I think she won the match not because she played incredible, just because I made all of those mistakes from, if you look from the outside, kind of from an...
Right after the match ended, Sabalenka's frustration was impossible to miss. Instead of showing the respect that usually follows a hard-fought battle, she let her irritation take over. At the net, she barely made eye contact, offered only a quick, forced tap of the racket, and turned away before Coco Gauff had even finished acknowledging the crowd. The tension carried into her post-match interviews, where her frustration became even more obvious. Rather than crediting Gauff's performance, Sabalenka downplayed the win and shifted the focus to her own mistakes, the conditions, and anything else she could point to. She spoke as if the match had slipped away because of external factors, not because Gauff outplayed her point by point. Fans picked up on it immediately, and social media quickly filled with reactions calling out the subtle disrespect, passive-aggressive tone, and refusal to give Gauff the credit she clearly earned.
And when I look at Coco, I had a chance, obviously, to go to Roland Garros. I was at the French Open. She worked so hard every single match to get to the finals. And I just love the fact that she has not only the will to win, the fight to win. What I loved also is how she just takes the high road, no matter what. We all have heard the comments from Sabalenka, her negativity, talking about Coco wasn't better than her, that Coco didn't beat her, that she lost the match because of her errors. But I just want to say, when you mess with the bull, you get...
Right after the match ended, Sabalenka's frustration was impossible to miss. Instead of showing the respect that usually follows a hard-fought battle, she let her irritation take over. At the net, she barely made eye contact, offered only a quick, forced tap of the racket, and turned away before Coco Gauff had even finished acknowledging the crowd. The tension carried into her post-match interviews, where her frustration became even more obvious. Rather than crediting Gauff's performance, Sabalenka downplayed the win and shifted the focus to her own mistakes, the conditions, and anything else she could point to. She spoke as if the match had slipped away because of external factors, not because Gauff outplayed her point by point. Fans picked up on it immediately, and social media quickly filled with reactions calling out the subtle disrespect, passive-aggressive tone, and refusal to give Gauff the credit she clearly earned.
So, she's got maybe she's too humble to say, too modest to say, but she's got a great fighting spirit, no doubt. She's a warrior, goes out there and doesn't.
So when Sabalenka's subtle dig began circulating online, Djokovic didn't stay silent. He's not someone who usually jumps into WTA controversies, especially when they involve two of the tour's biggest stars. But this time, he made an exception. According to people close to him, Djokovic immediately questioned why Coco Gauff was being framed as the problem when she had handled herself with complete poise. Having lived through the pressure of being a young, rising superstar himself, he understands how quickly narratives can be twisted by frustrated rivals trying to protect their pride. Djokovic saw through Sabalenka's behavior right away. In his view, she wasn't offering an honest breakdown of the match. She was trying to soften the sting of her own loss by making Coco seem less deserving of the win. Where you can direct a voice, create realistic dialogue, and so much more. Edit these placeholders to get started.
And what I love about Coco is that she can't say anything, but these women have come after her, whether it's been Sabalenka, Iga, Rybakina. They've made comments, even when Coco was actually number 3 in the world, they talked about them being the big 3. So every turn she has to face not just her opponent, but the ridicule from her.
After the clips went viral and fans began debating who was right, Novak Djokovic stepped in, and his words instantly changed the tone of the controversy. When he finally broke his silence, he didn't hide behind vague statements or careful wording. Djokovic openly praised Coco Gauff's professionalism, mental strength, and consistency, highlighting qualities that even veteran players struggle to maintain under pressure. Without directly attacking Aryna Sabalenka, he drew a clear distinction between players who take responsibility for losses and those who allow frustration to turn into excuses. He made it clear that Coco did nothing wrong, emphasizing her maturity, composure, and unwavering respect for the game, regardless of the situation or opponent. His message was unmistakable, and the tennis world immediately understood who he was referring to. Djokovic's comments spread rapidly across social media, and the narrative Sabalenka had tried to push began to crumble. Fans, analysts, and fellow players shared his words, praising him for stepping up when the discussion around Coco had become unfair. What started as a routine post-match interview suddenly turned into a much larger issue because Djokovic had exposed the truth Sabalenka seemed to hope would go unnoticed. Once he weighed in, the pressure shifted directly onto her shoulders. His decision wasn't random. Djokovic has experienced unfair narratives, biased commentary, and rivals twisting situations to protect their pride throughout his own career. Seeing Coco, a young star, being questioned despite her composure struck a nerve he recognized all too well. As Djokovic's comments gained traction, public opinion began to shift sharply against Sabalenka. Analysts replayed her post-match interviews and on-court behavior, pointing out moments where she downplayed Coco's performance. What once looked like emotional frustration now appeared as subtle disrespect. Fans who had initially been unsure started reconsidering, with many saying that if Djokovic noticed it, the issue was clearly real. Sabalenka's silence only intensified the backlash, making it seem as though she had no defense for her actions. Meanwhile, Coco's reputation grew stronger, reinforced by her calm response and consistent track record of integrity. The match itself explained everything. Sabalenka came out aggressively, feeding off chaos and emotion, while Coco stayed calm, disciplined, and focused. As the match progressed, Coco controlled the rhythm and forced Sabalenka into mistakes she couldn't mentally recover from. The very composure Sabalenka appeared to mock afterward was the reason Coco won. This wasn't new behavior from Coco either. She has long been known for standing up to unfairness with confidence and respect, whether challenging questionable officiating or handling pressure on the biggest stages. Djokovic knew that history, which is why his defense carried so much weight. By the end of it all, the narrative had completely flipped. Coco Gauff emerged with even more respect, praised for her maturity and professionalism. Djokovic earned admiration for defending fairness and accountability. Sabalenka, however, was left facing criticism she never expected. Djokovic didn't just defend Coco, he reshaped the entire conversation, reminding everyone that true greatness is defined not only by talent, but by how players carry themselves when the pressure is highest.